Welcome to part 7a in this series of videos where I create a Blazor application that demonstrates the use of cascading grids. In the previous video, part 7, I showed how to add what I called a dynamic dialog. This is a dialog that responds to data entered by the user. It wasn't until after I'd finished that video that I realized there was a bug. I will now play the relevant section of that video where everything appears to behave as expected. Right, select a project, select a room, and to make sure I'm dealing with clean data, I'll add a room, so I'll add a wall first. Now if I go and edit that wall, we're now populating those text boxes. Excellent. What I hadn't realized was that by choosing to edit the record I had just added, I was in fact dealing with a special case. Let's take another look. This time I will add two walls of different types, but this time I will edit the wall I entered first. I select a project and room, and I'll now add a wall. And I'll make it simple. I'll now add another wall, but this time I'll make it complex. Now I'll go back to the first wall we added, which was a simple wall, and I'll edit it. And what we find is that it's described as complex left, and the diagram comes up for a complex left one, and the text boxes are there for a complex wall type. I also found that if I refresh the page and then selected one of the walls and then chose to edit, I got no data. Let's have a look at the code to see what's caused this problem. When adding or editing a wall, we use a dialog, and that dialog uses an object called wall add edit, which we either change the values or enter the values. If it's a new wall, we use this section here which says if as, and the first thing is the drop-down list, and we have a value change on that called onChangeWallType, and that will select the wall type from that drop-down list and assign it to the wall add edit object. If we're editing, on the other hand, the bind value will display wall add edit wall type name. So let's have a look at the onChangeWallType. And here we'll see that the wall add edit object wall type name field is given the value from the drop down box. So that's on a new wall. But let's have a look at the wall toolbar click handler. If we're adding a new record, before we get as far as that dialog, first of all we set isadd to true, and we also put the selected wall type name to an empty string. Then we clear out the wall add edit object completely, so it's a completely new one. On the other hand, for an edit, we select isadd to false, but then we populate wall add edit from the grid, from the values that we get from the grid. And we'll see here that we aren't assigning a value to wall type name. We've missed it out completely. Similarly, when we're selecting from the wall row select handler, we're again missing out the selected wall type name. So we've really got two problems here. First of all, we're not getting the value from the grid where we need it. But secondly, on the wall save, we also aren't clearing out the wall add edit object. So we've got a couple of problems here to deal with. So I think the first one I'm going to deal with is put in when the wall row is selected, we're going to get the value for the wall type name. And when we're editing, we want that value assigned to the wall add edit object. Now that would probably be sufficient, but we're still left with this slightly untidy aspect that we've got the wall add edit object is initialized when we're adding, but is not initialized when we're editing. And perhaps the place to correct this is not in the edit, but in the wall save. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the wall save, regardless of whether it's an add or an edit, where do I want it to be? Right, down here at the very end, we'll clear out wall add edit so it's a completely empty object. That should fix the problem, so let's give it a run. Right, so I'll select a project, select a room. These are the two walls. If I select either of them and select edit, it's a simple wall and we get the correct form. If I select a front wall and edit, it's a complex one and we get the right type. So I think we can say that we've corrected the problem, but just to make sure, I'll add a new wall. I'll have it complex right. So that was side wall, which was complex right. If we go to front wall, that was complex left. And back wall was simple. So now we seem to have that operating correctly. I have corrected the code in the blog post, but I haven't corrected the code in the GitHub repository. So if you've taken the code from the GitHub repository, you'll need to correct it as shown here. The next GitHub repository for the next video in the series will include these corrections. Sorry if anyone's had trouble with this, but bugs are what happens in real life, and we've just got to correct them when we can find them. Thank you for watching.